right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Select Board meeting of September 26, 2024, in our brand new location. As always, we're going to start with I guess we have Kevin is away on business. Denise is running late with this crazy traffic out there. So we have myself, Roger Marsan, and Alec Rich here, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we get started, I'm sure you've all noticed we're in a different location, much more roomy. We got some elbow room here. I want to thank, very much thank all these people, the Permanent Building Committee especially, all the town employees who have busted their butts moving everything over the past several days, the workers, the crews, everybody, and especially the residents who voted for this. This was desperately needed, and I hope you can all tell the difference. And also a thank you to the Housing Authority for housing the Select Board for the past several months in our meetings. We very much appreciate that, and hope we don't have to go back there, but for good reasons. All right. So, first up, we have the appointment of Dean Zwicker to the Historic District Commission. So I think we don't have here, so we need to vote on that.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Marsan.
I make a motion that we appoint Dean Zwicker to the Historic District Commission.
Second. A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Zwicker. And bear with us with these microphones. They're new and invasive here. So we have a resignation of Brian Spangler from the Zoning Board of Appeals and Board of Survey. So we don't need to vote on that. And the appointment of the Treasurer Tax Collector as tax title custodian. All right, we don't need to vote on that. Correct, Mike?
You do.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Marsan.
all I need is a name.
Oh, the name's not on there. It's in the packet here.
Wendy Cochran. Wendy Cochran.
I make a motion that we appoint Wendy Cochran as the Treasurer Tax Collector as the tax title custodian.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, congratulations. Next up, we have minutes from September 12th, 2024. Do we have any changes or corrections there?
No, sir.
All right.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Marsan.
I make a motion we accept the minutes of September 12th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, minutes accepted. Apologies. Okay. So we're on to licenses and permits. We have a vote to approve the application of Mark Hasselbarth of Wheaton College for a one-day beer and wine license for a public event at Wheaton College, Dimple, located at 26 East Main Street, Norton, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday, October 5th. Are there any questions on that?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just wanted to say we do have sign off from the police department now and from the building department. We're still waiting on sign off from the fire department, so if it could be subject to final sign offs.
Excellent.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Marsan.
I make a motion that we approve the application of Mark Hasselbath of Wheaton College for a one-day beer and wine license for a public event at Wheaton College Dipple, located at 26 East Main Street, North Mass, from 1 to 5 p.m. on Saturday, October 5th, subject to final signatures and application.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, excellent. We're tearing through this here, and I will try to remember not to talk while I turn my head like that. Okay. Next up, we have recognition, I like this one here, recognition of Ralph Stefanelli for receiving Board Member of the Year by NAHRO, State of Massachusetts. So Ralph, you can come on up and do you want to say anything? Would you like to?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Marcy.
I would like to recognize Ralph Stefanelli for demonstrating excellence in advocating for and developing the political and community support necessary to ensure the continuation of housing programs. Ralph Stefanelli has won the Board Member of the Year from the NARU. Okay, I'm not sure what the acronym is, but from NARU. So Ralph Stefanelli has been an active member of our community for decades, and the fact that he's here today to accept this award is well-deserved and I'm sure overdue. So thank you, Mr. Stefanelli.
And thank you, Roger. It's appreciated. And there's one word that I would like to leave you with. It's called teamwork. That's what we represent. That's what we represent, teamwork for the Housing Authority. You have a nice fond memory of Robert Salvo, of Jim Dinsel, of Missy, of past members. It's fun and we get a lot done. And millions of dollars later, somebody put my name in, and here I am receiving this beautiful award. I want to thank everybody, and thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Ralph.
What a pleasure.
Thank you very much. And congratulations. Okay, next on the agenda we have review and discuss a vote to approve the proposed Friendly 40B project. Application to issue a letter of support regarding 0 Newcomb Street to construct a 74 Friendly 40B 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath townhouse units. So I know we've seen this presentation a couple times, and I think we were all on the same page that that it would be great for the town, and I think we need to vote to approve me signing that letter of support. So,
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Marcy.
I make a motion that we sign a letter of support for the Friendly 40B at 0 Newcomb Street.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, excellent. So we'll sign that. And you can come on up and. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and the board, and the whole community. First of all, cordial congratulations on this beautiful place. I feel overwhelmed. It was a little task to find it, but it's beautiful. So I hope that next time it's full of people. But the other thing I just want to say, make sure that the process is that now I need to submit that to the authority. It's the letter you sign plus the application I have sent. You need to sign that application as well. Just want to make sure. And I want to thank you for your support.
Okay, thank you very much. So why don't we do another motion to include the signing the application as well? Does that make sense? Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Marson.
I make a motion that we sign the application for the Friendly 40B at 0 Newcomb Street, as well as sign the letter of support.
Second. Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, in my haste to get through this agenda, we skipped over some announcements, so we can go to announcements now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have a few announcements to make. One is that the annual food drive that's sponsored by the Norton Police Department, the C2 Foundation, and the Boy Scouts is ongoing right now. If anybody is interested in having a food collection bin at their business in town, please feel free to contact me personally, or if you want to be a person in your community who's willing to go out and collect food in your community, we can help you with how to do that. So anybody who wants to do that, let me know. The collection date is on the 19th of October this year, and the food can be dropped off over at the new Nelson Center where they have the Cupboard of Kindness is now located. Also, thank you. Also on Sunday, September 29th, from 1 to 4 p.m., the Norton Fire Department will be having a open house where you can come and view the fire apparatus. You can get tours of the fire department, and anybody who wants to take part in that, there'll be light refreshments and snacks. So that is again on September 29th, 1 to 4 p.m. Another announcement we have is that the Norton Recreation Department is again sponsoring the Halloween Parade, which will be on October 27th. It's the 31st annual Chartley Halloween Parade, and it is rain or shine. It starts at noon down at the Attleboro line. Anybody who's interested can call the Recreation Department at 508-285-0228. And we are also having the Norton Kayak Company is offering a free event for any Norton veterans on October 6th from 10 to noon at their location over on 140. I'm looking for the address. I don't see it. It's 237 Mansfield Avenue, sorry. And so any veterans who are interested, you're asked to reserve your spot, and you can contact Estelle Flett at 285-0274 or email her at eflett@nortonmaus.com. One other announcement I'd like to make is we'd like to congratulate Audrey Michella, who had a ribbon cutting and the opening of her new business, Blush Vanity Room, at the corner of Park Ave and West Main Street today. So congratulations to Audrey. Thank you.
All right, excellent. So now we're on, do we have Steve here? Steve Bishop?
Town meeting now, because Steve's not here yet.
Yeah, okay. So we'll go through the town meeting articles.
Okay. So you have an updated town meeting article list, a score sheet showing which articles the Finance Committee has voted on. They did vote on Article 1, but it'll have to be reconsidered this Monday because we found 2 more bills from last fiscal year. Also, they voted on the water operating budget amendments and sewer operating budget amendments. There's no action on those. They voted engineering study or design services for drainage improvements, $50,000 from free cash, and schematic design for the Norton Middle School roof project, $50,000 from free cash. Due to the timeline when the schools could be hearing from the MSBA, we would need to do this now because May would be too late. And if the school is chosen, I believe the reimbursement rate is somewhere around 50.6%. And then also, the Finance Committee voted in support of recommending the article for the permanent easement to North Town properties that you previously had on your agenda. So we're still working on final numbers for separation expense and any budget amendments. I did receive a letter today from the school department with budget amendments that they're recommending. And Mr. Chair, the other article is, one of the articles is for the town hall demolition. We're waiting for the final number from the OPM on what the cost will be. And
We got that on Monday.
did
I
you?
believe we just got it on Monday. I think it was 1.9. I don't have it with my notes here, but it was around 1.9.
Okay.
And that was with a 20% contingency. We bumped it up. It was 10% contingency, but we bumped it up to 20% because we thought that they bid a little bit low.
And the Elm Street Water and Sewer probably will come to you at your next meeting to talk about that again. You've seen the presentations before. They did have a public information session that went well last night at the library. And there were quite a few neighbors there, and it was a good discussion.
Okay. So I guess we'll vote on these here. Article number 5, 6, 9, 12, and 17 maybe? It depends on the board though. How do you guys feel?
Are these the ones that you said FinCom has already voted on?
Yeah.
All 6 of those?
Yes.
Yeah, and 1, 2. Well, the NP bills, you
You
said
should,
they're gonna revote.
in your packet, you should have the updated score sheet, maybe right under.
Right under it?
Oh, under it, okay.
So 1, 5, 6, 9, 12, and 17.
Yeah.
One, if you could hold off,
Because we
They have to
we
revote it.
a couple new bills, so we're gonna ask the FinCom to reconsider that on Monday night.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Marcy?
I recommend that, we recommend Articles 5, 6, 9, 12, and 17 for town meeting.
Second. Can we do them like that? I think we have to do them separately.
You should do them separately,
Yeah.
just so you make sure you mention on 9 and 12, 50,000 from free cash on both
Okay.
of those.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Marcy?
I recommend Article number 5 for the town meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor?
Did you say no action?
I have a question.
No action, yeah.
Sorry, I have a question. What is the no action? What's no action mean?
They don't have any amendments right now for their budget, so we don't need any action on that article.
It would be not to move it at town meeting. So,
Okay,
yeah, when it comes up, then we just wouldn't, nobody would move it.
okay.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Marcy?
I recommend that we take no action on Article number 6
Second.
for town meeting.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Marcy?
I recommend that we recommend $50,000 for engineering study and/or design services for drainage improvements, Article 9 at town meeting,
Second.
Do you have to say from free cash?
From free cash, yeah.
from free cash.
Okay, motion and a second. I'm hesitant on using the free cash without knowing a lot more about this, but, yeah. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Chair,
Mr. Marcy?
we recommend Article number 12 for the schematic design for the Norton Middle School roof project from MSBA Accelerated Repair Program for $50,000 from free cash.
Second. All right, there's a motion and a second, but I did want to ask, Mike, did they get bids on this, or was this just a?
No, when you do the schematic design, the MSBA has, under the repair program, they have architects that they assign to do that.
Okay. Okay, that's the motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Marcy?
we recommend a permanent easement to Northtown Properties LLC to access and use town property shown on map 12, parcel 85, West Main Street. At town meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. So that's it for these. I would just request that maybe some of these come to us prior to FinCom. The demolition, especially of the town hall. We could talk offline on that, but yeah, I think some of these should be coming to us first. I know last year when we did this, we kind of played catch up on them, and we should be ahead of the game on it. Okay. So is there anything else on these articles? Nope. Okay. Now we do have an item about the discolored water, but I don't think Mr. Bishop is here yet. So we'll move on to the next items here. Oh, okay. This one's on me. So we were going to put together, and I've been talking about this for a while. It started as a committee, and now we're going to do it as a working group. I've spoken with the chairs of FinCom and the school committee. We're going to have a working group of the chairs and vice chairs of all three committees to go through and meet monthly, go over budget, strategic planning, and potential auditing if needed. So. We will be working, I don't believe they're going to be open meetings, but we will have reports back at each of our individual meetings, so everybody knows what's been going on. And that's all for that, so we don't need to vote on that.
Do we check, you need to vote on from the committee?
We're not going to form a committee. We're going to have the chairs and vice chairs of each of the three boards just meet monthly to create more communication between the three of us. I think in the past, the three boards have been working not at odds, but not together. So we need to be more focused on working together, and any ideas that come from those groups, we're going to bring to individual boards. I know there's a few ideas out there now I don't want to bring up yet because they're not confirmed, but.
Chair? Or are you still on the article?
Yeah, we're still on that. Okay. So next up, we have a financial discussion. That's very, very broad. So I hope you're ready.
I'm ready. So, just wanted to report that on September 18th, the free cash was certified. I want to thank James Puello and the finance team. James does a great work on this, and it's not many communities that you obtain this certification 1 week after you submit the paperwork, so I'd like to congratulate them on that work. The free cash was certified at $6,254,039, or $1,325,069 more than last year. Just some of the major pieces that make that up. We had $500,000 in free cash remaining that we didn't use in last year's budget. Then in December, we put in a spending freeze, and I know Highway Department lost an employee. We didn't replace that employee. And so with turnbacks, $1,326,596. Motor vehicle excise came in at $900,000 more than anticipated. 300,000 of that was collected in June. And there were reimbursements for the train project, $209,246. And then the auction sale, $700,000 that was certified as free cash, and also $205,000 went back to taxes from the auction. We didn't know until the beginning of September what we could do with that money. We were being told until they passed any legislation, we had to hold that money in an agency account and it wouldn't be certified as free cash, but the legislation passed in August, the end of August. They came out with the guidelines in September in time, so that could be certified as free cash. And then due to the higher interest rates, the investment income was up by $1,572,000.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Marcy.
Mr. Units? Are there any of these amounts that you just read off that we could have anticipated before we went through the budget process that we went through last year?
Not really, most of them, because like I said, with the auto excise, we really don't know who's going out and buying new cars, and that a good deal, the bills don't go out till March, and the money starts coming in April, May, and June. And as I said, a third of that extra money was collected in June, which would have been after the town meeting. We wouldn't have that certified until the end of the month. And then rebates, we don't know what rebates we're going to be receiving from the training project. It's been an ongoing project that still has punch list items and hasn't been finalized and completed yet. And as I said on the auction, we didn't know what was happening with that based on that Supreme Court decision, and we're waiting for the guidelines from the state on that. In the investment income, there's a lot of different accounts that the town has. The treasurer's done a great job moving money to banks that will pay the higher interest rates. And like everyone else, we were always watching the speculation on when the Fed was going to lower rates, and it didn't happen during the year, so the rates stayed up. Instead of 1% that we're usually at, they were at 4%, so did well on that.
So one thing I want to point out as well is that there's been a lot of, and I've said this at 100 meetings, don't get your news from Facebook, but there's so much kind of back and forth going on there. Last year's free cash certified was about 5 million. Is that correct?
Correct.
It was exactly 4.928, so it was just about 5 million. This year's was just over 6 million. And you take away that tax title sale of 770,000, you're pretty close to what we had last year. So there was some people, some officials as well, insinuating that this 6.6 million was ridiculously over what we thought was going to come in. It's just not the case. So I hate to bring people back down to reality, but we did have more than last year, but not a ridiculous amount more. So that's my 2 cents on it. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Marcy, sorry.
One thing I would like to say is that I'd like to thank our treasurer, James, for the work that he's done to move these amounts that we had borrowed into interest savings accounts. So through his efforts and the town manager's efforts, we were able to acquire that $1.7 million that necessarily we wouldn't have had otherwise. One of the things I would like to ask the town manager is that as far as the excise tax go, could you explain how we didn't have an expectation of what we were going to have for excise tax?
Sure. Well, a couple of reasons. One, we don't know who's going to go out and buy new cars. And two, so this year, say our auto excise was 900,000 higher than it was last year. When we do our projections for revenue for next year, we can't increase our auto excise tax by 900,000. The DOR will never let that happen. They'll instruct us, you got to take the average of your last 5 years. You can't, just because you were 900,000 higher one year, you can't base your revenue on that. So we have to average it out. We can't just go with the higher number.
And I'll be the first to admit that I skew those numbers because I accidentally paid all of our excess taxes late this year. So it was after the end of the fiscal year. So I'll take the blame on that one. That was my fault.
Mr. Chair?
By a few $100s.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Ms. Luciana.
Just a general statement. I have no idea what the social media stuff is about. I don't know the content, but as a general rule, I would prefer to err on the side of transparency, even if that comes with, these are the dollar figures we think we might get, but this qualifying statement that it might get pulled back because X, Y, Z. I think the more transparent we can be with the community, the better off we are. That being said, I don't know that it changes the outcome at all about where we're at today, but transparency, I think, goes a long ways with the trust of the community.
I agree with you 100% on that. I was referring more to the people that were saying that the 6 million was a ridiculous amount more than what we were supposed to get when it was about $1 million over last year, which is still a lot.
Yeah.
That was what I was referring to. I mean, I do think the transparency has been lacking and needs to be.
Yeah.
We need improvement, great improvement on that.
We can give you information and say, but we're not clear on these numbers yet because of these qualifying issues that might result, right? But let's give the information still.
Just one comment on that is that, and I'm sure Brian will back me up on this, because he'll come in every year in the springtime and start giving the town accountant a hard time, ask him what the free cash certification is going to come, and he'll say the same thing. We're instructed by the DOR not to tell anyone what the free cash is until the free cash is free cash and certified, because they don't want us putting speculative numbers out there that people will hear, and then it doesn't come in at that number, and it doesn't look good for the town or the DOR. So they tell everyone, all the town accountants, don't be divulging any speculative numbers. You wait until we certify it as free cash.
That is true.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Marcy.
Mr. Units, was there any process this year that was done differently from any previous years to get us to where we are? And does this number that we're at now, this 6.5 million, does that help us in moving forward into next year's budget?
If we don't spend it.
No, there was no process, nothing different with the process. Matter of fact, the town accountant said to me, no one in 20 years ever asked me what the free cash is in advance. Finance committee, select board, no one's ever
Except for the
asked.
chief.
Except for Chief.
And what the good news is about the free cash, we'll have to look at how we're going to use it. My recommendation would be that we put $1 million in our stabilization, will get us to our 5%. Put 1.5 million in capital, 125,000 in OPEB, which is a 5,000 increase, which we've been doing every year. We'll have to hold 280,000 for snow and ice, just in case. The articles that you approve tonight and any supplements that we have to do in fall. But the beauty of having this much free cash certified now is if you remain conservative with it and you have $2.5 to $3 million to carry forward, you're ahead of the game. It's not like we're doing our budget in May and we're saying, well, let's cut this until October when free cash certification comes in. Well, you have it now. And my recommendation would be, like other towns have, is that the board agree that up to 50% of the free cash that's carried could be available for the budget in May. And then in October, you'll have more free cash certified, and hopefully we remain conservative and we keep that free cash in advance rather than basing our budgets on the hope that free cash comes in October.
Yeah, I'd like to make sure we have that as a discussion topic on our next agenda.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I'd like to discuss the free cash and where it's going to go before it gets to FinCom or anywhere else. I think it should come to the select board for direction.
One
Do you
more
guys agree?
question, Mr. Chair. One more question for Mike. Could you explain the 5% that you talked about in the stabilization account and where we come up with that figure?
Yeah, the recommendation is that your stabilization account should be 5% of your budget. So adding $1 million would be up around over $4 million in our stabilization. So 3.5 to 4 million is about 5% of our budget.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Questions? All right. Mr. Wiggins,
Yes, Peter Wiggins, Honor Mayor Norton.
you can come up to the microphone if you want.
Oh!
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Peter J. Wiggins, Honorary Mayor Norton, and people need to get their news from real sources such as yours truly. On Facebook, I do a good job informing the town, and I love this new town hall, and don't get the news from Norton neighbors. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay, we only have a couple things left here, so we're gonna go, I see Mr. Bishop is here, so we can go back to the discussion on discolored water complaints, the water quality issues, and the PFAS treatment. So Mr. Bishop, yeah, come on up.
Special.
I think you lucked out. I thought there was gonna be quite a few people here with questions, so you lucked out.
Well, I'm always available if
Yeah.
certainly work with anybody, just like our staff is. Our staff is pretty good about working with people. With the tanning of the water, most recently was because of partly because of the higher water levels that we've been having, and that brings out some organics and the organics that come out of the ground that we can't filter. We filter in the iron and manganese. That's what that's set up. That's what's that made for. The plant is. And when these organics came up, all the surrounding towns had issues, similar issues as well. So with flushing and infrastructure improvements, it will get better. And I'm sure with the flushing that we're doing now, I'm hoping that it's getting better. But I've been kind of out of the loop for a couple months, so I haven't had an update as of yet. But I know that's with the most recent tanning of the water, as we call it. Yep.
All right, does anyone on the board have questions? I have a couple, but
I do.
yeah, you go first.
How you doing, Steve?
Hi.
Just wanted to see, besides the flushing, what is a long-term possible remedy? Is there?
Yeah, well, it's a different kind of treatment process. So where our engineers are working on a more permanent treatment process, we can do something temporary, but it's not. It's just putting a Band-Aid on it. So we're trying to look for something that's a little more tangible, that's going to be a long-term for us now. So, and I apologize, I don't have that direct answer for you right now, but I will find that out and get back to you guys. I'd be more than happy to come back. And if you guys have any questions in the future as well, you can just send them my way. I'd be more than happy to come in front of the board anytime.
Thank you, Steve.
Anyone else?
Mr.
Go ahead,
Chair.
Mr. Mason.
Mr. Bishop, thank you for coming in tonight.
Nope.
This is
I
not a
apologize. I thought it
not
was
a
at 7
comfortable
o'clock
spot for
and-
you to be in right now with what's going on with the water in town. One of my questions is, do you have a plan in place for improvement of the infrastructure of the water system in our town?
Yeah, we have plans where we lose certain parts of the town that are problematic. We have them on the list of certain years to do, unless we're having more problems, and we bump them up as it were. But it's all money and everything like that. We can spend some of Mike's money if we can. But no, we do have a plan on what streets we replace and problematic areas.
So going with that question, do you know, and I'm not gonna hold you to it because it's right off the top of your head, do you have a plan on Pine Street?
Well, Pine Street, we already redid that, but it's the plant that's down the street that I believe that people on that road are having problems with. We need the water. So we need to have that on. We shut it off anytime, like during the winter. Once we know that we can reach capacity with our other wells, we shut that off. So you don't get impacted as, the people on the area don't get impacted as much. We want to shut it off. But it's also such a smaller yielding well, it's not feasible to put a plant there, like an iron manganese plant, because it doesn't yield enough. And we are looking into that too, to see if we can get more water out. Our engineers are working on that. They've been working on that for a while.
Okay.
We've been talking about that, to do a plant there.
All right.
See if we can get more water out of the aquifer, yeah.
When I had asked a question a while back at another meeting, I was just a guest at the meeting. after the pipe was replaced, I think it had to do with the new development. One of the answers that we got was, it's the pipes inside the houses and it's not interior.
Sometimes it can be. I mean, it's clearly coming from that well. It's in the raw water samples that we get. It's higher in iron manganese. Once it's diluted into the system with the water coming from the plant, it's diluted and it's breaking down even further. So you're getting a direct flow of it from that main.
And I'm not going to speak for, I know I can't speak for a lot of people, but a lot of people don't call because they're just used to it. Myself included, and my wife included, my whole family. We put a whole house filter on, and it still comes through the filter. We change it every month, and it's supposed to be every 6 months. So hopefully there is a plan, and at a future date we can go over.
I mean, we would love to shut it down right now to alleviate all the problems, but it's just we need the water. Right now.
And not just for Pine Street, there's a couple other streets that are having the same issues.
Yep.
So if there's anything, I don't want to speak for everybody here, but if there's anything that the select board can do to assist, if
we appreciate it. We definitely appreciate that, and we are working on all those issues. I know our engineers are pretty diligent on doing that, and we have a great staff. So I urge you to call.
That's true.
Even if it's tiring for you. Our staff is top notch, and they'll come out and do whatever they can to remedy the issue. Our staff is. I work for the town of Mansfield, and their staff is phenomenal. Our staff, I should say, Norton.
Oh yeah, everybody I've dealt with is fantastic. No doubt about that. Okay. Anyone else?
Just a couple more questions there, Mr. Bishop. Is there any concern with the capacity that we have for water?
I don't think so right now. The PFAS throws a whole thing into it because we've got to shut wells off when we have PFAS, in the system or in the wells. That's what we had to do to well number 3 off of Newland, is it? I think. And so we had to shut that down because of the PFAS was over the 20 parts per trillion, and now EPA is going to dumb it all down to 4 parts per trillion, which no one's going to attain. So we're going to be building plants or whatever we can do to remedy the whole PFAS issues.
One more question, and could you please just explain what the PFAS is? So,
it's the forever chemical that's been dumped in the ground that's affecting the whole United States. These big companies back in the day have dumped it in the ground, and it's not easy to remove. There's a couple different ways. The most cheapest is carbon. The town of Mansfield's got a couple of plants now, PFAS plants on now, and that's how we remove it over there. And we're building a 3rd one now. But once they dump it down to 4, everyone's going to be scrambling for all the carbon and a solution, and it's going to be crazy. It's already crazy.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Mr.
Steve, back to Pine Street, the rest of the development going on around there, is it Pulte Homes is building the 42 unit or 44 unit new community, and other development going on around there. Okay. How is that going to impact water capacity and the tainting of the water from that well?
Well, I think our levels right now, I mean, if we can get a remedy to number 3 and we can have 3 on, we'll be fine. But we'll need to look at that with our engineers. I probably could give you a better answer once I talk to our engineers and give you a better outlook on that. I could stand up here and say I think we're going to be fine, but I would rather give you the correct answer instead of just throwing a ball out there.
Sure. All right. Anyone else on the board have a question?
I'd just like to thank Mr. for coming in again. It's not a fun thing to come up here and defend a process that you've gone through, but I appreciate you coming in.
Well, I was here before the plant went on, and it was really fun then. And we've come a long way. We still have a lot more work to do. We know that, but between good staffing and the town, the way the town's run and everything like that, we'll get through it. But it just takes some time, and money, fortunately.
Okay, any questions from the audience about the water? Come on up. Just, you know the drill, direct your questions to us.
Kevin O'Neill. Mr. Bishop is a volunteer member of the commission, is that correct? As knowledgeable as he is and as many hats as he wears, I would recommend maybe the next time you have this on your agenda to invite the superintendent to speak on behalf of the water and sewer
Yeah,
department.
unfortunately, the superintendent was ill, so he couldn't
Okay.
make it tonight. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
He was gonna be here.
Gotcha.
All right, any other questions?
So aside from PFAS and the water tainting at well 3, everything's great.
Well, we still have the TTHM issue, which is a byproduct of chlorine, and we get those notices that we have, that DEP mandates you to send out. And we're in the middle of getting an aerator in the tank over on Cottage Street, which should help out with the TGM levels. And they do it every quarter, so they do an average of every quarter. So you could get a couple good quarters, but you could still be just over the average, because they take the average of all 4 quarters, whether it's. So that's the only bad thing about that, the way that it's structured.
But the aerator will reduce chlorine usage, correct?
It's a byproduct of chlorine, the TTHMs are, yeah. And it's Richardson Ave, I believe, is one area, and the water doesn't move. And we can't put flushers, you can't put a flusher on it, like we used to do back in the day. So a bleeder.
And that was to my point about Pine Street, with the extra usage on that new development, that's gonna be fully looped.
Yeah, and that's.
That will create,
Yep,
just on its own,
It
will
should-
decrease turbidity.
it should, yes. We're hoping. Yep.
All right. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bishop, for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Sorry I'm late.
Thank you, Steve.
That's okay. All right, do we have any other business not anticipated? I don't think so. All right, this one's been on our agenda for, what, a year almost now, going back and forth. So we're gonna review, discuss, and/or vote on the building department permit fees. I know we have Mr. Ray here that brought this to our attention. You can come up first if you'd like. Second, oh. Nick, do you want to come up? Well, I think let's
I don't think Nick.
do this. Let's have Lucas come up and let us know what he's presenting, and then we can go from there. Thank you. I think some of this is in our packets too, so. All right, you just say your name and address then.
Lucas Ray, 276 Taunton Avenue, Rita. I'd just like to read something that I wrote up for this meeting. So, on the topic of the building permit fees, this is my 4th time in front of the select board and hopefully the last. Just for a quick recap, for those that don't know, Norton currently has some of the highest building permit fees in the state. We're much higher than surrounding comparable towns like Mansfield and Foxborough. For example, currently building 2 homes, one in Norton, one in Foxborough. Both homes are 2,000 square feet, and the cost to build both homes is the same amount. My permit fee for the home in Foxborough was $1,512, and my permit fee to build the home in Norton was $8,518. I'm also building an addition in Easton. This permit is for a small addition, 2 decks, siding, roofing, etc. That permit fee was $241. That exact same project based in Norton would have cost $1,915, almost 10 times. Where I see the biggest issue is the smallest projects like the roofs, siding, windows, etc. Mansfield currently charges a flat rate fee of $50 for roof permits. Foxborough charges $75 for roofs. In Norton, the fee is based on $10 per thousand of the cost of the job. So a $25,000 project on a residential home in Norton would cost homeowners $300 compared to Mansfield's $50 and Foxborough's $75. Considering that the roofs do not require an inspection, it seems quite excessive that the homeowners have to pay these high fees. Now, I understand that every town has their own fee schedule, and a lot of towns do use the per 1,000 of cost, job cost to calculate fees. So in a perfect world, I'd love to see Norton replicate the fee schedule used by Mansfield, especially considering Mansfield is our closest neighbor and also a very similar town per capita income. I'd like to point out that the purpose of these fees is to cover the expenses of the building department. The purpose of these fees is not to generate additional revenue for the town. Currently, the town is profiting off of these fees at the expense of the taxpayers. I would also like to mention that reducing these fees will not benefit the contractors. I personally add the appropriate fees to each job that I bid on, and if I am successful in adjusting these fees to be more comparable to the surrounding towns, then I will pass those savings on to my customers. I have done a markup, which I think is fair, a fair way to modify the current fees to get Norton more comparable to surrounding towns and give the taxpayers some relief, and that's what I've given you as some of the proposals. I think it was the second page. The first thing I'd like to see, there's 9 proposals. The first thing I'd like to see is eliminating all base fees. The only surrounding town that uses a base fee is Sharon. Roofs, siding, and windows, should be a flat fee of $50, the same as Mansfield. Eliminate the requirement for a minimum permit fee. Change all residential new builds, additions, alterations to $9 per thousand per my markup. This is still significantly higher than Mansfield and Foxborough, but it does fall in line with several other surrounding towns. Change all the commercial fees to $15 per thousand per the markup. We shouldn't be deterring commercial building in town because we have high fees. Eliminate the $225 minimum fee for after-hours inspection. Eliminate the non-refundable clause on permit fees. If I sign a job and pull a permit, then the homeowner decides after the fact that they have changed their mind and they do not want to do the project, provided I have not started the job, I should be entitled to get a refund on the fee I paid. Number 8 is probably the most important. Waive all permit fees on buildings owned by the town of Norton. This should include all fees, including plumbing, electrical, building, mechanical, etc. I've been successful in the past few years in getting the permit fees waived on roof projects I've done for the town buildings, but it was brought to my attention that the town paid plumbing permit fees for the new town hall and other buildings. One department should not be paying the other department for a permit fee if the town owns the building. Those fees should be waived, and the cost of those fees should be deducted from the cost of the project and the savings passed on to the taxpayers. Lastly, I did a markup on the fee schedule. I think the small items, we should just revise them based on the markup. I'd like to end with this. As of 5 to 6 years ago, we had a very fair permit fee structure. That was all changed under the leadership of the previous building inspector. I've had a meeting with the town manager, Mr. Units, and he acknowledged that we do have some of the highest fees, but he hoped that we could keep those fees in place. And he personally told me it was his hope that other towns would eventually catch up to us. Clearly, I disagree with him on this issue. I don't feel as though Norton should be setting the highest benchmark for permit fees in the surrounding area. In a time when we have high inflation, high gas, high grocery bills, high interest rates, and the burden placed on the taxpayers to fund this town, maybe it's time to right this wrong, give the taxpayers some relief, and bring these fees back down to at least be comparable to those surrounding towns. I also understand that because of the recently failed override, that some in town government might not have the appetite to lower these fees. So for me personally, I'd be interested to see how this vote goes and to see who supports the taxpayers of this town and who decides to support the town government led by the town manager.
All right, thank you, Mr. A. Does anybody on the board have questions at this point?
Not yet.
Okay.
The only one thing I would like to, I see we're missing a selectman, so Kevin apparently isn't here, so I'm not sure if that makes this vote any different. I'm not sure which way, the select board are gonna go with this, but I'm not sure if it's fair to the town to have, not have all the members of the select board voting.
Okay,
So-
we'll keep that in mind. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Nick, did you want to come up and say anything? I think they might have some questions for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Good evening.
Okay.
How are you doing?
Okay. Seems like you had some questions.
I didn't know if Nick had anything to present, but I guess just in general, I'm assuming you've had a chance to look at the materials that Lucas has provided. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on, I know that we don't necessarily need to or want to be the lowest, certainly, in the surrounding towns, and we shouldn't be cherry picking what our comparisons are based on who is the lowest in the neighboring towns, but where do we fall? What are our fees to have these things done, etc. Inspections done.
So, we've had many discussions, myself and Lucas, me and Mike, multiple people. My opinion of all this, to be honest, is whether the fees are what they are, or you choose to lower the fees or increase it, whatever you decide to do, it's not up to me what the fee schedule is. It was implemented in 2018, effective as of January 1st, 2019. I've said it before, I don't think it's really proper of me to have an opinion as to whether or not we're high or low, because it doesn't affect my day-to-day operation. It's your policy to be made. So I don't know if it's really right for me to have a personal opinion. I am also a contractor outside of my position here in other towns. I just pulled a permit in Bridgewater for a residential single-family home, and I think my permit fee was over $3,000. But it's based off the cost of construction. So off the top of my head, I don't know what the cost of construction was for that particular project that Louis is talking about, but it can go either way. Some towns do it based off a percentage of the square footage of the project. Some do it based off of a percentage per thousand like we do. But that's kind of, I don't think it's right for me to have a personal opinion, to be honest with you. I will say that they were implemented in 2019, like I said, on January 1st, 2019, at the time the select board voted to implement those fees. I wasn't around, so if it was a recommendation from Chris, I don't know how that process went, what the discussions were. We're about 3 months away from it, that being a 6-year anniversary of that implementation of those fees. So to me, it's nothing new. They've been in place for 6 years. But again, that's up to you as the board to make that decision if you want to raise, lower, or remain the same.
Any other questions? Mr. Yanes?
I think before Nick had said that looking at our fees, we were in the mid-range. As you said, we were at the bottom, we were at the top, we're the mid-range. And as Nick said, they haven't increased in 6 years. And I'm sure contractors' costs have gone up quite a bit in those 6 years, but we haven't changed our fees in 6 years.
Okay. Now, I personally see quite a. I'm tending to agree with Lucas on that these are a lot higher than comparable towns. I don't think that we should be in a position right now to change everything. But I mean, personally, I would recommend changing a few things. I think right off the bat, waiving the permit fees on buildings owned by the town of Norton. That to me is a no-brainer. I don't know why that wouldn't. So it wouldn't be in place already.
Not to interrupt.
It usually happens, I'm guessing.
We do that.
Yeah. So I would say by policy then. I mean, I think
It's just, and I don't mean to cut you off. So it's a standard. There was discussions with the OPM, the town manager, myself, on the new building you're sitting in today, in the COA building, for supplemental permits like the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing permits. I believe it was a suggestion from the OPM for reasons that he discussed with us that those fees get charged, but the building permit fees themselves were waived for these buildings. And it's a standard practice since I've taken over the department for town-owned buildings to have permit fees waived.
and I can say I definitely appreciate that, and I'm sure we all do. I think, and we hope you stay here forever. But and you know, anything can happen, and say you leave tomorrow, then it's not in place. I think that's something that we should put in place, similar to what the water and sewer. That's in place with the water and sewer now, right? Yeah. I think it's to me that's a no-brainer. Anyone else have thoughts on any changes?
I agree that some of them myself, seem a little bit out of whack. They were high when they were first adopted back in, was it 1819? I think some of them are a little out of whack comparative to some surrounding towns. Some things seem like they are, you know, close, middle of the road. The fees, interdepartment fees in town-owned municipal buildings, I think that 100% in agreement. That's a no-brainer. It seems like that
It's being done anyways, yeah, but.
policy that was kind of, since you've been
Yeah, anytime.
An unwritten policy.
Yeah, I mean, I've always just obviously discussed with Mike before I waive any fee, but town-owned buildings, we've come to an agreement. Again, outside of the condition with these two buildings with the advice from the OPM, but it's kind of been an unwritten policy that we've always waived fees for town-owned buildings.
So my suggestion, and again, we can talk about this, would be to make that permanent, we waive all the permit fees on the buildings owned by the town. As written here, you know, including electrical, plumbing, building, and mechanical. I don't want to do sweeping. I personally would not like to do sweeping changes now. I'd maybe like to do a couple and revisit it in a year and see if it made an impact, if it helped, if it didn't help. That way it's not going to be so traumatic to the fees coming in, and we'll see if it helps. So maybe I'd suggest waive the minimum requirement on the base fees. What's that, number 1 and number 3? And I personally, I would be in favor of refunding the fees if something like Lucas had said, the project hasn't started yet. I'd be in favor of that too.
Yeah, it is, on the fee schedule, the town of Norton fee schedule, fees are non-refundable and non-transferable contracts may be required, but I believe if there's an existential circumstance where something happens in between contractor getting the permit and something happened between them and the homeowner, something happens and they don't end up doing the project, is that something that could go right to you, Mike, for approval of a refund? Because obviously,
Yeah, they would come to me.
Has that, for example, happened in the past year or two? Or you have, please?
Not that I recall. We've had some I guess one-off special circumstances where things I've got to go to Mike for certain scenarios. We had one a few years back where contractor started a project and then sold the project, and then we had a redesign of the project, single-family home. Comes along with a whole new plan review and new documents and new submittals, right? Because new license, new insurance. So we charge a building permit fee, but waived some of the supplemental fees to kind of help out with the weight of it, right? But special circumstances, I always go to Mike, you know, if it's a one-off or if it's kind of a once in a blue moon kind of a situation. But again, that's a once in a blue moon situation. It's tough to kind of.
Yeah, and as I'm thinking about it too, you know, like you said, you're reviewing you're reviewing everything. So even before construction starts, so you're actually putting time into it. So I wouldn't. So in that scenario, I probably would agree that maybe the full permit fee shouldn't be refunded because time has been expended. But
yeah,
so maybe that's one we tackle in the future. Thinking out loud here because nobody else is asking questions.
You know, I'm in agreement that there's some that we could tackle now, see how they go, and look again in a certain time for 6 months, a year, or give it a full cycle.
Yeah. I'm happy to sit down with whoever, and I think the best way to do it is to sit down, come up with a proposal, right? Get it in front of the whole board, and whoever else wants to review it, and then make it formal whenever you're ready to make it formal. But I think changing them off the cuff right now, I don't think maybe the right thing to do, but that's up to you, not me.
Yeah, and also just a separate vote for each one, because you might have a different opinion for each of the items.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chair?
I personally, just 1 second, Mr. Marsden. Yeah, I don't think, and I'm speaking for myself, I wouldn't want to do, 10 different things. I think 1 or 2. So maybe a couple of us can get together offline and present a list to the rest of the board, and then we can go from there. We won't have to have you guys back in, we can just make that decision.
Whatever you need me for, I've always tried to make myself available, so.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Messi.
So, I appreciate the work that Mr. Wright has done for all of these and coming before the board 4 times. And I was sitting on the other side of this desk one time when you came in and got this fee schedule from you. I would maybe like to see if, Nick, maybe you could look over what is suggested here, and maybe if you have any suggestions that we should think about. I understand you don't want to get involved with this should be this and this should be that as far as fee goes. But if you feel that some of these are way out of line, maybe you could help us with, give us some direction with that.
Yeah, like I said, I'd be happy to sit down with whomever from the board and Mike and whoever else you want to invite and kind of have that roundtable discussion and come up with a proposal if that's what you'd like to do.
Yeah, why don't we sit down? I mean, Lucas has given us a list of 9 things that, you know, to kind of look at. I think we take those and we'll sit down and go through a couple and come up with a few to bring to the board. At this point, I feel like this topic has been beaten to death over the past year. And I'd like to either do something or say we're gonna move on at this point. So not vote tonight, but I mean, let's just.
Right, Mr. Chair, can I suggest?
Yes, go ahead.
That we revisit all 9 of them for a vote, and then we all decide which ones would, we're not gonna move all 9 of them forward, I can't see us all, right, not gonna, but let's all have a decision in which few are worthwhile moving forward. But let's talk about each of the 9 and discuss the merits of each of them individually.
Yeah, my thought was to even pare down the 9 and just, but that's fine with me.
I would suggest that because you and I might have differences of opinion on
Yeah.
which ones we think are the important ones to move forward.
Okay,
Right.
that makes sense. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Everybody else is good with that?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Marcy?
The only thing I would like to remind everybody is that these 9 proposals are from a single contractor. I don't know, Mr. Wright, have you discussed these with other contractors and come up with a consensus? Is this or is this what you think?
I've spoken to quite a few contractors, and I'm just the only one motivated enough to make any difference. So.
Okay.
I've seen it, you know, I'd like to speak again real quick when we're done, when Nick's done, so.
Sure. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I personally would like to get all of us together at a table to go over this with Nick, William, and Mike, and whoever wants to be available, however that works, Lucas. And I think it will be a lot more fruitful than trying to do it like this right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's put it on an agenda for maybe a couple meetings from now. Give us a month or so to figure this out, and then we'll go through. I'll do one thing because Denise did request it. I'll make sure that none of these are eliminated from these 9. So we might add some different ones on top of it.
Yep.
But just to be fair to the rest of the board and to Kevin, who's not here, that we want to eliminate any of this stuff.
Okay.
If that's okay with you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now, Lucas, you.
Yeah.
So just a couple things. So if the board does plan on meeting, I'd prefer to be there. You know, if the 5 select board, I know where the town manager stands on this. I've had a meeting with Steve and you know, Mr. Ifredi over here. We've had that meeting. I know where he stands on it. You know, I'd like to be in that meeting if, you know, because I did bring this to the table. There are some things here, you know, which I feel, you know, these base fees, I mean, we're the only town other than Sharon that has base fees, and you know, to Mr. Ifredi's credit, you know, he's been a great building inspector in town here, and this all falls on the previous inspector, Mr. Carmichael, who was not great for the town. So, you know, me and Mr. Ifredi got a good relationship, and, you know, I got no issues with the building inspector in town, so just to be clear. But, you know, and I can understand his position of not taking a personal stance on it, which I think is fair.
I don't think you can.
No, I understand that, so. But, you know, if there is a sit-down, I'd like to be part of that, you know, because I have more knowledge on these fees than, you know, I've done a lot of homework on these, and I know where we, you know, where we exceed other towns, and, you know, we do have some fees that are fair, so.
So look, I think there's definitely some of this that has merit. There's no question there. I just think it needs to be done more, you know, a little bit more review and recommendations.
So my recommendation would be to try to get all 5 select board members together, you know, so we're all on the same page. If anybody has any, you know, difference of opinion, we can try to hash it out and see if we can get a vote on something.
Yeah, well, that's the plan. We'll have a quick meeting, go through this list, and it won't be a quick meeting. It might be. And well, I will, you know, like Denise, and I agree with her that you know, we might differ on all of this stuff, so we can go one by one down these. But yeah, we'll have it on the next.
I just don't want to see it get kicked down the road another year. And
Absolutely.
You can ask anybody here. I keep saying I just want to check things off the list and move on. So I hate just taking so long with this one.
And I gotta say, I appreciate your persistence too.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, thank you again, Nick. Okay, that was our last. Item. Now we have the town manager's report.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the town received $29,948 in a FY25 municipal road safety grant. And I don't know if the chief wants to just talk a little bit about what he's going to do with that money.
Good evening. It's like a historic day in Norton for moving into this great professional building. So we put in for grants, you know, on a regular basis. Last year we received about $159,000 for some different grants. One of the bigger grants was the mental health clinician that we have, which was about $92,000, which is probably one of the best things that has come to the town. But what we received recently was a traffic safety grant. You know, I always say that we have 3 main functions: community policing, handling calls for service, and traffic safety. This is not a grant we get every year, but Lieutenant Franco put in for it, and there'll be basically 3 things we'll do with the grant. There's $14,744 for traffic safety enforcement, which is officers out on the road, additional officers out on the road doing traffic safety. Another $7,900 for pedestrian and bike safety. You remember probably several years ago we got a pedestrian grant where we're doing a lot of pedestrian safety in front of, say, Wheaton College, which coincidentally a week or so ago a student was hit out in front of Wheaton College. Oh, no. And then $7,300 for speed calming devices. Those are the radar units that you see, say, in front of Home Foods that show your speed limit, or Bay Road that show your speed limit. North Worcester Street has one. We'll be able to purchase 2 more with that. So
that's excellent.
So,
Mr. Marcy.
When you say one of the things you're going to be doing is with pedestrians, is that like crosswalk infringement and that kind of thing?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, commonly it's no secret. You know, we'll have somebody that's a decoy. We'll have them pose as somebody that's crossing the road, and when a car doesn't stop, we radio ahead and have them stopped. It also does, with that same decoy, it does have some distracted driving that goes along with it, people on cell phones and things like that. So,
yeah, whenever they're out there, it's always, for at least a couple weeks later, the traffic slows down every time.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Just want to thank the chief and the whole department for everything they do for all the public safety in town. Honestly, we're lucky to have you guys, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Did you have anything else, Mike?
Nope. I wanted to ask, I was made aware there was a Serpent grant, some sort of grant. Did you hear anything about it from Bob? About the flashing 30 mile an hour?
Yeah, I sent that to Bob the other day.
Can you explain it a little bit more?
Yeah, it's a program. The flashing beacons on the crosswalks.
Yep.
It's a program to institute more of those around the region, so I gave it to Bob for the Traffic Safety Committee.
They request them, apply for them, the Traffic Safety
Yeah.
Committee.
See if they can check into it, see if we can apply for that.
Yeah, there was a deadline on that too, right?
Yeah, it just came in though.
I think we have another meeting with the Traffic Safety Committee coming up at the beginning of October.
Okay.
Well, that's fun.
First Wednesday, isn't it?
All right. I approve the warrants as written. Our next meeting is October 10th, 2024, unless we need one before then. And I declare under General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, that the purpose of the executive session will be to discuss strategy with respect to potential litigation involving Site 1 regarding the Newland Street composting facility, because discussing this matter in open session will have a detrimental effect on the town's litigating position, and with the board to not return to open session at the conclusion of the executive session.
Mr. Chair, I move that the board go into executive session under General Law, Chapter 38, 21A3, for the purpose and reason declared by the chair and with the board to not return to open session thereafter.
Second.
Roll call vote. Denise?
Yes.
Roger?
Yes?
Alec?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Thank you all for coming to our first meeting.